It is exactly 3:26 a.m. in Latour. The temperature has plummeted, a heavy fog hangs in the air, and the streets are entirely pitch black. The bus that brought Rahul here was supposed to drop him off at 7 in the morning. Instead, it unloaded him hours early in an unrecognizable part of the city, leaving a treacherous 3.5 kilometers between him and his destination. Shivering uncontrollably in the biting cold, he ties a handkerchief tight around his head and pulls down a winter cap. Relying on his remaining phone battery, he pulls up Google Maps and begins walking blindly into the dark. Most people would find a waiting room or simply refuse to get off the bus. To step out alone into a freezing, unknown city in the dead of night requires a specific, terrifying kind of desperation. To understand why a man would willingly march into that darkness, we have to look back at the sudden, complete collapse of the comfortable life he left behind. Before this night, Rahul was known for his intense work ethic. He was a curious, deeply dutiful family man, and his wife admired him quietly but fiercely for the stability he provided them. Then a sudden job loss hit the family hard. Almost overnight, Rahul went from a stable provider to a man wandering the streets, frantically knocking on doors and searching for any available work. Their savings dried up completely. The financial strain became so severe that they had to start rationing their meals, literally counting the exact number of rotis they could afford to eat each day. Seeing this struggle, his young son made a quiet request. He asked his mother to serve him only 3 rotis instead of his usual 4, promising he would only eat a full meal again once his father found a new job. Knowing an upcoming interview at a school in Latour was his best chance for salvation, his wife scraped together every single remaining paisa in the house just to buy him a one-way bus ticket. Rahul walked through the freezing fog because every kilometer brought him closer to restoring the meal his son gave up. The bus ticket was his family's last stand, and the stakes of that walk were written in the hunger of his child. Back in the freezing dark of Latour, the time creeps to 4:05 a.m. Rahul has been walking for nearly 40 minutes, and severe exhaustion is setting in. Suddenly, the sharp, heavy metallic clank of a shop shutter rolling up pierces the silence. In an unfamiliar city at this hour, a sudden noise usually means trouble. Rahul hesitates, weighing the very real risk of crime against his need for help, complicated by the fact that the locals here speak a slightly different dialect. He gathers his courage and cautiously approaches the silhouette. He nervously asks the older man, addressing him respectfully as Kaka, if he is waking up incredibly early, or if he just hasn't slept at all. Kaka replies gently. He explains that he normally wakes up at 4:30 to open his tea stall, but for some reason he woke up a little earlier today. For Rahul, those 30 early minutes feel like divine intervention. In an instant, a simple conversation with a stranger dissolves the sheer terror of walking alone in the dark. Over the next few hours, Rahul watches as Kaka sweeps up loose paper and plastic, splashes water on the pavement to settle the dust, and formally opens his stall for the day. They sit and talk. The remaining dark hours slip away easily in conversation, and soon early morning walkers start appearing on the streets. With the sun finally coming up, Rahul takes a moment to reclaim his dignity. He pulls out his toothbrush, washes his face right there at the stall, and warms his hands around a fresh, hot cup of Kaka's tea. He asks Kaka for directions to his interview location, Podar Learn School. In a massive stroke of luck, Kaka laughs and tells him that all the school's drivers, staff, and admissions officers drink their morning tea right at this exact stall. Armed with the right directions, Rahul easily navigates to the nearby bus stand by 7:20 a.m. He calls the school's principal, who immediately instructs the administrative officer to send a motorcycle to pick him up. By the time the school staff arrived for their morning tea, Rahul was already there, prepared and part of the community. Kaka's stall provided the direct logistical link he needed to arrive at the school on time and composed. At the school, Rahul delivers a flawless demonstration. The principal notes his deep dedication and strong personality, making the interview a resounding success. He walks out of the school gates at exactly 1:24 p.m., victorious, ready to begin the long journey back to his family. He boards a bus to Nanded, waits for a connection, transfers to another bus bound for Yavut Mall, and finally walks through his own front door late that night at 9:50 p.m. The physical journey was finally over, but as Rahul stepped into his home, he carried the strain of a physical sacrifice kept to himself since the trip began. From leaving his house the previous night until returning home nearly 24 hours later, Rahul had not eaten a single grain of food. He survived the freezing fog, the terrifying 3.5-kilometer walk, and a high-pressure academic interview, operating entirely on a completely empty stomach. Every rupee they had went toward the bus ticket. A father willingly starved himself through the longest, coldest night of his life, ensuring his son would never have to ration his meals again. Success is rarely built in the comfort of daylight. It is forged by walking through the darkest hours, sustained by nothing but the fierce, uncompromising love of a family.